Hey, welcome back to Already Overbooked. My name's Josh, and we have another weekly recap. Let's jump right in. All right, so starting off, we're going to talk about channel and life updates. From a channel perspective, this has probably been the worst subscription month since the channel started. I think I gained 4 subscribers, but my watch time has gone up, so thank you for going through and watching. Appreciate it. And then the subscribers, I guess, work itself out. It is what it is. So jumping in to life updates, I went through and told you all last week that I was working on a new binding, and I wanted to go through and show you guys, what came from it. Now it's only my third one, so be nice. Talking to you, Brian. Be nice to me. But I went through and doing everything freehanded. I'm going to end up buying a nice Cricut machine to make it look nicer. But I went through and did Strangers in a Strange Land. Went through and binding this together. My handwriting's terrible, but I went through and drew a cool little robot here at the bottom. I got the name. Again, handwriting's terrible. That's why I need a Cricut machine so it can do the words. And then I did a little person walking away in the distance. So that was what I went through and did. The binding went pretty well. I can go through, pop everything open. It looks pretty good. Pretty good for the third one. Still learning, still trying new things. You can actually open the book this time, which is cool. Because the first few, like I would have pages glued together. So, but getting there, it's a work in progress. I'm happy with how it looks. I'm gonna go through. I've not read this yet, so this might be the first book that I bound together that I'm gonna go through and actually go through and read. So it's quite exciting. So it was a lot of fun. Eventually, once I actually start getting better at this, I will record me doing my process with it because it's actually a lot of fun to go through, and I will, maybe do a live or something where we can just chit chat as I go through and bind and draw pictures of a book. So it's fun stuff. So that's all I have for an update. So let's jump into what did I read last week. I went and ended up finishing 2 books this past week. The first one was Rising Sun by Michael Crichton. I mentioned in another video I do have supposed to be doing a buddy read with like 4 or 5 other people. Once I get a little bit more information on when that's going to happen and what channel, I'll let you guys know. Um, Honestly, about this book, I'm a big Michael Crichton fan, and this book was different compared to other Michael Crichton books. I'm looking forward to the discussion to talk about how I really feel about this book. And before that conversation, I'm gonna end up watching the movie to kind of see how it compares to the book. So I need to find a copy somewhere because I can't find it on streaming services. And I'm going to go through and watch it and see how it compares to this book. The other book I ended up going through and reading was a self-pub, Whispers of the Storm by Z.B. Steele. I did go through and read the novella, and I truly enjoyed his prequel novella. So I was very excited about going through and reading this. It has gotten a lot of love, and honestly, I thought the book was good. It was a good first novel, and I'm excited to see other stories coming from ZB and more into this world. I am going to go through and probably do a review in the coming weeks for this. I got to figure out how I want to go through and write this review because there are some opportunities in this book, and I want to get my thoughts on paper. So I'll probably go through and do it in the next 2 weeks. I'm assuming is when something will come out. But I'll let you guys know when to expect a review of Whispers of the Storm. And to be honest, man, neither of those books I went through and read, Rising Sun or Whispers of the Storm, knocked it out of the park for me. And they're both good, but they were missing that lasting impression. So I'm hoping in May I'll have some books that really knock it out of the park for me, but we'll see. All right, so jumping into what am I currently reading? Now, this is going to be the last book that I'm going to read for the month. and that is the Veil by E.H. Bradley. I'm about 40% through this book, and it has a very cool supernatural aspect to it that is interesting. There are some different areas of this book that the premise is very cool. It's very different. It There's some creative ideas that have not been done that I've personally seen. So I think that's pretty cool. Um, but I need to go through and finish the book. Right now, it's not um, that great of a book from my preference, what I like, and I'll go through and explain it once I finish the book on the why. But there's certain tropes that I've realized I do not click with. And this book has that trope in it. I'm going to keep pushing through because there's part of it I do like. So I don't want the trope that I don't like to kind of negatively impact how I feel about this book. But we'll see once I finish the book this week. All right, so let's now jump into books that I bought, pre ordered, or was received this past week. The first book that I went through, I'm going to go through the physical books first that I went through and got, and then I'll jump into the ebooks and arcs that I went through and received. So there's first two books that I did go through was from Zachary and Joshua Forbes. They sent me a copy of the Three Rivers Plague, and then also the second book in the series, Foot in the Grave. Both of these books look fantastic. They look very cool. It was something that was on my radar that I really wanted to go through and read anyway, but they went through and sent me some copies of it, so I'm very excited about that as well. I'm also later on this afternoon, when you watch this video, you will be seeing a cover reveal of book number 3. So keep an eye. If you don't already follow me on X, go jump on the X and see the amazing third cover to the third book in their series. They also were very cool to go through and send a bookmark that I cannot show. I realize it has the new cover on it. Don't want to spoil that. And then some cool little playing cards that come with the book. So these are all very, very cool. I'm going to go through and let the kids have these because they're going to really enjoy these playing cards. They're going to have a lot of fun with it. But let me jump in and tell you a little bit about what book number 1 at least is about. I have not read these, so I don't want to say what's on the back of book 2 and spoil anything. So, after a return concert in his hometown, famous rock star Thomas Wilde is plunged into a post-apocalyptic city of Pittsburgh, now plagued by infected cults, cocaine junkies, and even the mafia. A member of his band falls victim to the deadly new virus, sending the group spiraling into the mystery of the supposed Soviet-made bioweapon. But not everyone is convinced of its origins, like Boston police detective Dick Kennedy. In the following days, it's up to Thomas and his band to discover the truth, not only about their new world, but about his government, his friends, and himself, all while trying to carve out a slab of survival for everyone and everything he cares about. Sounds pretty awesome. I do plan on going through and reading this very soon. I think the premise sounds awesome, but it'll probably be in the coming months when I go through and have the opportunity to go through and read these. But I appreciate this, Zach and Josh. Thank you so much for sending me these books, and I'm going to go through and read those when I have the opportunity. Another book I did go through and receive was an art copy of Angel Down by Daniel Cross. This book is about Private Cyril Bagger. Has managed to survive the unspeakable horrors of the Great War through his wits and deception, swindling fellow soldiers at every opportunity. But his survival instincts are put to the ultimate test when he and 4 other grunts are given a deadly mission. Venture into the no man's land to euthanize a wounded comrade, but they find amid the ruined battlefield, however, is not a man in need of mercy, but a fallen angel, seamlessly struck down by artillery fire. This sentient being may hold the key to ending the brutal conflict, but only if the soldiers can suppress their individual desires and work together, as jealousy, greed, and paranoia take hold. The group is torn apart by their inner demons, threatening to turn their angelic encounter into a descent into hell. That sounds interesting. Sounds very cool. So I do plan on reading this book. It's only about 280 pages. I can knock this out in an afternoon or 2 days. The words are very, very big in this. So sounds different. Sounds very cool. So I'm excited, and I appreciate receiving an art copy of this. And I'll go through and definitely read this very soon. So thank you very much. All right, so let's jump into some of the ebooks that I went through and got. So I received a copy of The Silver Crystal by Ryan Lance, and this book is about a bounty hunter. Rail chases down the corrupted people with unnatural abilities too powerful for the rest of society. Something he learned firsthand when they killed his father years ago. But when Raoul and his crew are ambushed by the very people they were sent to capture, it changes everything. I did go through also and buy Demon Song by F. Paul Wilson. This is a 20-page novella, and this is supposed to be a prequel to all of the Repairman Jack series and all of those books and those series. So there wasn't really anything too much to go through and read on the back of it since it only is 20 pages. So I'm going to go through and read that in an afternoon. So I'm excited to go through and read that. Another novella I went through and received was The Pawns of Havoc by Dave Lawson. This book is about Cork, who has quickly made a name for himself among the mercenaries, but now his boss has come to him with an unusual job. Cork's countrymen, the Wind, have hired him to travel into the barren, frozen lands and destroy a convoy, leaving only one survivor. Cork isn't sure he can trust the Wind. He feels like a pawn in their political game. However, his mother is sick, and the Wind have promised to heal her, and Cork does this job. And killing is what a Cork does best. To make matters worse, Cork's crew has been decided for him, an inexperienced and infuriating archer, and a gloomy criminal with murder on her mind. Cork will have to figure out how to complete the job, avoid the Wind, and manage conflict with these new members of his team along the way. So that sounds a lot of fun. I'm going to go through and plan on reading this novella before I get to the main series. So it should be cool to go through and check out. The last book that I went through and got, and this also is an ebook. It's called The Debt Collector by Stephen Max Russo. This book is about Abigail Barnes, who is a young, pretty, and petite, but her looks and size can be very deceiving. She is tough as nails. She's a drifter who makes her living collecting outstanding debts for low-end bookies and loan sharks. Abigail arrives in New Jersey from Baltimore and gets a job collecting for a small-time bookie who winds up dead. And soon, Abigail finds herself being sought by a gang of hoodlums, the mob, and also the police. She knows she can't run and she won't turn herself in because she does have a past and she would 100% go to jail. She has little choices but to try and figure out who killed the bookie without getting herself killed in the process. So that one's also sounds a lot of fun. Something different. It gives me more of that thriller avenue that I like to go through and switch between my fantasies and sci-fi. So I'll be going through and checking that out probably sooner than later. So jumping into what is happening next week. So Monday, I do have a live buddy read discussion with Rowdy from Rowdy Player One. We're going to be going through and talking about book number 1, Empire of Silence by Christopher Rocchio. I've been looking for this conversation since I've read that book, and I am too hyped to go through and talk about it with Rowdy. So join us, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will have all the information in the description below. On Tuesday, I'm going to be doing another video of my May 2025 TBR videos. I'm going to be pulling in a few ebooks, a bunch of novellas. I just want to go through and get through as many different novellas as possible. I bought a lot lately, so those are going to be a little spoiler on the list with a few other great gems. On Wednesday, I do have an author interview with Kaden Love, the author of Toothsucker. I went through and did a review of Toothsucker a few weeks ago. You can go through and check that above here if you have not watched that video. But Kaden is, I have a lot of questions for this guy because this book was very different, very cool, and very graphic. So I need to understand a little bit more about Kaden. So I'm super excited to go through. That's also going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll have that link also in below. Thursday, we're going to have a short video of a short for my April 2025 ranking. And then Friday, we have another weekly recap. So a packed agenda for next week. We have something happening every day of the week, so look out for all those videos. It should be a lot of fun. All right, so now jumping into the last two big parts. The first is their indie author spotlight. I want to go through and spotlight Mr. Aaron Payne, the author of Fallen into Oblivion. Aaron is a fantastic author, great booktuber, great guy. If you have not, for some reason, gone through and read any of or read Aaron's book, Fallen into Oblivion, you are missing out. This book is so much fun. I'll have a link down in the description so you can go through and get yourself a copy. I promise you, you are not going to go through and regret it. Finally, we have our booktuber spotlight, and this week I need to go through and spotlight a great friend of the channel, one of my favorite people, to be honest, on booktube, and that's Logan from Novel Insights. Logan is a great person. His videos are fantastic. He does very original and different videos. His recommendations, the books he reads are very, very cool. He kind of leans more into the thriller avenue, and I get some amazing ideas and recommendations from Logan on amazing books to go through and read. One of my favorite videos Logan does, he does a weekly video called Coffee and a Comic. He does it every Saturday, where he drinks a different type of coffee and he goes through and reads one of his stacked boxes of comics, and he goes through and reads it live and goes through and talks about it with all of you. So it's so much fun. Definitely go through and check it out. I'll have all of Logan's information down in the description as well. So I really do appreciate you stopping by this week, and don't forget to like, subscribe, you know what to do. Till I see you in the next one.